So I'm just going to go over exactly what we just talked about. I want your feet fairly narrow. Here's how I check. Biomechanically, your ankles should be in line with your hips. So if I draw a line here, that's perfect. Your ankles are directly in line with your hips. You want to stack your load-bearing joints. That's to maximize mobility. All right. Now, in your golf swing, you're getting a good turn here, but you're narrow. What do I mean by narrow? Okay, well, if I was to illustrate wide, think of a circle. Your left arm being the radius of the circle, being the length from the left shoulder out to the end of the circle. Well, I want that distance to be maximized. Well, the only way to do that is keep your right arm from collapsing. Your right arm controls your left arm. So if you can keep that right arm a little bit more extended on the backswing, all the better. Let me see if I can illustrate that point with a drill. The drill I want you to do is just to feel like you're very extended with your right arm. I'm going to see if I have a drill here. Yeah, feel like that right arm, that's not it. I'm looking for a drill here. That's not it. Oh, this is the drill I want you to work on to get your hips to start your downswing. Just hold the end of a golf club with both hands and then just work on separation there. See how I'm moving my hips without moving my shoulders? That's a good exercise. There's a little bit of shift or bump and rotation. And then the next phase of it is try to keep your hands still and move your hips without moving your hands. That's a lot harder. Yeah, but that's an exercise I want you to do. Okay, so let's go to your swing here at impact. Alright, so if I was to do an analysis of where your weight is, I would say you're not over onto your left side as much as I would like. I would say I want your left hip to be to the outside or just about touching. If I draw a line from your left toe straight up, I would like to see your left hip get to that line in your golf swing. That's going to require you to get a little more mobility in your hips. Now, what I mean by you turn your hips lovely here, but there's not enough lateral movement toward the target to drop the club down, so you end up starting your downswing too much with your hands and your upper body. You don't get enough lower body lateral shift. So if I zoom in here, I would love to see your left hip get to that line. Well, it doesn't get there. So essentially you hang back. And what happens is you don't really get over there. Sometimes you get over there. On that swing you actually did get over there. You held your finish. Sometimes though you fall backwards. There's a number of times you fall backwards. And here I'm explaining you're standing up is a better position for you than bending over. Now here's another swing. Good takeaway. Nice wide takeaway. But your stance has gotten, you've gotten bent over a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. This is a good backswing, but again, we got to get the lower body to shift before the hands and arms start the downswing. A lot of times it looks like it's not quite there. So you can see your left hip has never gotten over to that line. So it's going to feel like you're swaying or sliding way more than you really are. Let me show you what it looks like. This is a lag drill. Again, I want you to feel like this is an exercise where you hold your arm out straight and then you take the club and swing it downward. And you see how I'm loading on the downswing. Now you don't have to do that with one hand. It's a pretty difficult exercise to do with one hand. So you can do it with 2 here. So you start with your arms extended, and then from this position where the shaft's parallel to the ground, make a little swing. And what you're trying to do is move the handle or move the butt end of the golf club first. You're not moving the hands, you're moving the end of the club. Eddie Mehrens has a book called Swing the Handle, and essentially what you're trying to do is move the handle before you move the head of the club. So this is just a feeling that you want to have, that you're getting that, just like a throwing motion. If I was going to throw a ball, the elbow leads the hand doesn't lead the elbow. So if you throw the club head at the ball, you're going to hit it left. So essentially you're trying to get that action where the hips are, as you're finishing the backswing, your hips are moving, and that'll automatically drop the club down in the slot. But what's happening with you is you're not getting enough lateral movement. You're just sort of spinning. So what happens when you spin is your shoulders do the spinning and your hips follow your shoulders. In other words, you're doing this and you're not doing that. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then you pull the ball because you swing to the left. So the club head's swinging too far to the left. So by getting a little more lateral movement, the club head will stay on the target line longer. The direction the club travels will be down the target line, essentially, which is what we want. So, you know, all I want to do is reinforce this idea of you getting a little more of a bump. I mean, that's a nice position there. It's obviously a super slow motion swing. But from right here, you should already be started down with the hips. Let me show you what, we'll just use a tour player for a minute here. I don't like to use tour players too much because nobody's a tour player. But watch his lower body get the running start right there. So if I zoom this in, as he's finishing the backswing, his hips are already starting forward. Mm-hmm. And that's the move that you don't have yet, which you used to have. And you still have it somewhere in that memory bank of yours. We just have to access that feeling. So as you can see here, if I put a box on his hips, you'll see how much lateral movement he gets. Well, that's the whole width of his thigh. My thigh is probably, I don't know, 7, 8 inches wide. I don't know. So you got to get some more lateral movement, and you got to get that lateral movement to start earlier. You got a nice little pause at the top of your backswing, but sometimes what happens is you start down with your arms and shoulders before you get those hips going. All right, I think I've said enough.